Good morning, traders. Welcome to live Trade Setup live stream. It's 11th of October. All right. Just going through what we'll do. We'll have a look at a few markets. We'll kick it off just by looking at covering a few markets, what happened overnight, and then we'll go through a few different things we're looking at, a few trades potentially, and we'll look at some currencies as well. Now, just repeating that this will be on each morning, so anyone that wants to send across some, if you've got some charts or some trades you're potentially looking at, anything at all, yeah, feel free just to send it across to TradeSetup. No, support at tradesetup.com.au. Sorry, I'll repeat that. Support at tradesetup.com.au. I'll just get myself a bit organised here. All right, and you can view the live stream. If anyone's obviously, if you got here, you probably know where to go. But the view the live stream. If you actually subscribe to this is our YouTube channel. If you can see this at the top here, it's maybe I just have to minimise that a bit more. So it's www.youtube.com/c/trade setup au live. If you go there to that link there, and you can subscribe to Trade Setup, and you should get alerts every morning when we're actually ready to come on for actually streaming. So yeah, all right, let's kick it off. The market's actually it's opened up. It's not super strong. It's up about 16 points at the moment on the ASX 200. We had a pretty good night overnight in the US and Europe. Everything was up quite strong. So I think the DAX was up over 100. The FTSE was up, I think it was about 30-40 points. S&P, E-mini S&P was up, finished up over 10 points, I think. But the good thing is, I think a lot of it's obviously got to do with crude oil, which is finished well above $50, about 51 actually a barrel. So that's a positive sign. And also, it looks like Clinton, after the second debate, I think it was, is taking the lead for the presidential election. So obviously traders are taking that. She's more of the known than unknown than Trump. So I think we could probably all agree it'd be better off with her and than anyone else than Trump, obviously. So the market's really taken that as a positive, and I think now we're geared up towards. They're looking to focus on a rate rise for December, potential rate rise in the US for December. Yeah, what I forgot to mention too, you could anyone that's actually is viewing the stream through the phone, you won't be able to get the live chat. But if you actually on a desktop or laptop or something, if you're viewing it through the YouTube channel there, you can actually trade, whack in any chat, any questions you may have. So yeah, feel free to do so as we go. All right, so yeah, just markets are quite strong. We've got our list that we look at down here. There's a few good ones there. We are a big fan of this one here, MVP. I think they've had some really good announcements. It does potentially look like it's, if you're looking at it from an outside, completely unbiased view, without taking into account any of the news, doesn't look that great. It could potentially easy go roll over. That's the daily chart, but the weekly, the weekly is in such a good zone there, down there as well. It's been well oversold recently, and it looks like it could easily potentially just pop back up, through that. I think it's about 570, 580. So it could easily, just pop up through there. So what we actually like about this one though is they're looking to release a drug. They're waiting for approval in the US. They've been approved in other places like Canada, I think it ran Europe, so they're doing very, very well in that respect. Releasing for sale, and if they get into the US, it should be massive for this. It has had a good run up, obviously. If you look at that weekly chart, it has a very good run up, but that structure has just been easing off down there. So, all the original excitement is sort of coming to people profit taking as this thing's taken a while to play out. But if the FDA do give approval, you should expect, as soon as that's announced, should expect that pop up and a good strong move. So we do like this one at the moment. So but really just still got to pick your entries. Something else we're looking at. we've been short on Qantas previously, but that price action was just, it really wasn't that strong. We're starting to find support around 310. Did pop through there when we were short and then bounced back up. We just decided to lower that stop just to lock in something. And if it was going to go, it was going to go. If it was going to sell off, it should have sold off a bit harder than that, a bit easier than that. But it's just been, the moves down have been bought up pretty easily. So that type of price action is not great for us. But looking on the flip side, that if we go to weekly, actually let's just put it on a bigger chart here. We've got that down there. That's had some good price action. It got sold off pretty hard, pretty heavily down to 260. Has bounced and took out this minor inside high, lower high there at 345. So it washed that out. Now that we were looking for a sell down to this 270-60 zone, didn't play out. We're at least down to $3, but that didn't play out. It was held up here, and that's potentially just a washout at 310. If you can see that little zone there. So what it's looking like now is that if it's going to pop up, that could potentially just be that's a move up, contracting lower, getting in some buyers, and then bang, we could go higher again. So that's what we're looking at on Qantas at the moment. So we sort of flipped over from a short to a long. May sound unusual. That's I guess trading, and that does look that could have been an each way bet. I guess we got in at 322. It sold off. It was going originally to plan, but just started to that move down started to weaken. So I kind of like that for a move up. Anyway, let's have just a bit of an overview. We've done it in the morning, jumped up. We'll quickly whip over it on what's happened overnight. So this is a daily on the ASX. It's always good just to keep you on the daily charts, just to see what the longer term price structure is doing. Obviously that's up. That's been up for quite a while now, since early Feb, mid-Feb. So we got that big sell-off in the start of 2016, got that bounce, took out some minor lower highs around here, which you probably can't see. Actually, if we can just move that across. So that's the move down. We got started 2016, bounced back up, took out these minor higher lows, pretty much a washout. So once you see that type of price action, especially when it's following, taking out at a level like that, that's a lower high. So really, if that trend was going to continue lower, that should have held that level there. So for say 5,049.95, that should have held, and then we should have around this area sort of got more weakness, taken out that low, and then just stair step down. But it didn't. We got that push straight up through, and then we got bounce straight back down, washout. You wouldn't sit on the bid, obviously. That's not my trading style either. Anyway, wouldn't sit on the bid there and just thinking it's going to hold, because that's why you get these washouts time and time again, just to take out those traders that sit there, might have a lower stop, try to get them out, even ones that are selling on stop there for a further move lower. But you just got to take into account with the previous price action. What we do like from there though, and this is the way we look at markets, why price action or price structure is quite important. Look for that push up, and then you get that higher low. Always looking for that higher low, because that is just a great sign especially after a washout. You got essentially a double bottom with a washout of those lows. Couldn't hold, couldn't close below there. Great sign. Stack that up with that higher low that we saw built in here, and that's just started that leg up. Then we've got higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and currently this level here at 51.55 is looking to be a high low, 51.55. So the price action here is starting to look like it could potentially roll over, but you can easily get that like we have back here, hanging around overbought, just grinding its way higher. It's not super strong, because you'd rather see, it's up here as it's getting to overbought, then a minor pullback, build that high low, it comes back around the 50% mark on their stochastics, and then bang, up we go. But it's a bit low, so we could just get it. This could be longer term contracting in itself, and then go, which is going to take a long time to play out. Which sort of does, I guess, keep in line to a December rate hike. We may be capped just up until then at 56.05, along with the US, but we'll see how that plays out. Looking now at the lower time frame, we've washed out. We were discussing this morning, bit of a wash out of the highs to 50.508. A bit like yesterday, whack higher, bit of a washout and then edge your way lower all day. Whether or not we're going to do that, but it looks like it could be a similar type of price action today. That wasn't a bad sign. We could have pushed higher. If we come in and made that minor higher low here above that level at 54.95, would have been fantastic. Build a higher low and off we go. We could have been straight up through 55.08, but that type of price action, especially on the open, open to the market, when they generally wash out the market either way, just clear out a few buys or sellers, and then from there they just pick a direction, I guess. Well, we've seen that wash out. We can just really maximize that. Saw that wash out to the highs, and then we've just taken out that low there. So it'd be interesting to see if we, work our way back up, build a lower high, and then just start the same type of price action as yesterday. And then maybe before going into the close, hold up as a major higher low, somewhere around here. But I think there's a bit of work to do if we just put a line in here. That's interesting. So that'll be interesting to see if that can hold that level there. Build a bit of a base here, some buyers step in, and we get that push through, especially since we've got a washout to the top side there. But that is, essentially a short-term double top, which generally you'd see a bit of selling coming, maybe a bit of contraction, maybe even a retest right down here, 54.68, which is not a great idea, but for anyone that's long, but it could easily pop down here, bounce off that level there, build another higher low, like our favorite price action. If we can see that here, that's not really a higher low there, but build that higher low and then go. Okay, let's take a look at the Aussie. This is a longer term, obviously the 4-hour chart. We've spoke about this morning again. Really, this the overall, if we just drill out a bit, we've had that move up. We've got to that 77.55 zone, contracted lower, built a higher low, retested up towards there, but it was just a lower high. So anything when you get that major lower high, you're sort of gunning towards those recent higher lows, which we did pretty much wash those out. Not major. Found support at 74.45, and then we headed higher back up towards 7,700. Now 77 is a bit of a good resistance area there, and so keeping into account that is more contractive action, and we've got a good base at 74.45. I'll just drill out. The trend is held up still at 74.45, so that uptrend from here, that major uptrend, we go down at these levels at, what do we got there, 71.62. That's still, so that's the uptrend there. That's still being held at 74.45, so it's still quite strong. It's got a lot of potential that this could hold and just pop up. Some contractive action there. We're holding these lows, and then bang, off we go. But we'll just drill back out, get a closer look. Yeah, so I like the idea of this level holding up here, 75.66. We've had this washout of 77. We've had the highs, wash out of those minor highs there, and then generally after washout you get that push lower. It just clears people out of the market, puts them on the sidelines ready to come back in. Any sort of washout action like that. Got the washout to that minor support level there at 76. Another attempt at 77. It failed, made a lower high there, which is, so anyone that's sort of been long up here is going to potentially, the idea would be, if you see that lower high, is okay, that's a failed continuation high, get out and just see what happens from there. If you still fancy a long position, then just look for another entry soon, which we did get that move down to 75.66. This was over the payroll as well, these candles, and then I'll just expand that out. So over the payrolls there, we did get that spike lower, but this level essentially is held at 75.66. So if you're looking for a long, it wouldn't have been a nice little, somewhere in this area here. We did pump out an alert yesterday, which I'll show you in a minute. It did play out, but we pretty much got washed out, I guess, before the entry was triggered. It did pop lower, which we wanted that lever to hold. So we'll show you that in just a minute. Any questions, guys, yet? Like I said, just feel free to put it in the chat, or send it off to TradeSetup. Sorry, support at tradesetup.com.au. Just got to check that at the moment. All right, all good. So yeah, back to this Aussie. So we've had that move down, that leg down. This level's holding, so we get that spike up. So coming into the payrolls, that any short positions seem to get out of that, close out. So buying them back, we had that pop up into the number come out, bang, wash out to the downside, retest that support 75.66, and we've been heading higher. So that's nice price action for a major higher low at 75.66. Don't mind that at all. So potentially I don't mind that buying on that side there, because we've got that the potential for this to really push up to 77 and even through that, especially off this good zone, major higher low here. If we go back down to the 30-minute chart, so this is that same price action over the payrolls, that washout. Then we got this contractive action, which is kind of nice. And going into last night, we were hoping that we would see this level hold up 75.90 for a pop up through 76.04. Now the premise was right; it did eventually hold, but we did get that washout and that push lower. And that markets do that time and time again. Like I said, they've got to get people on the sidelines so they can catch them out. So that's why you just don't. I would never mind top of price. I would like to see it push through, and after a level is held, push up through that 76.04. After that's held, just not sit on the bid here. Think I'll get a better price, because you can easily just go lower, wash you out, stop you out, and then turn around and head your way. So really, you got to build that price action, build a picture that you want to see, and then trade accordingly. In saying all that, what we did see was a fantastic little setup there actually. So we were looking at it in here around the 4:30 mark yesterday afternoon. We got that push lower, but an even better setup. So we've had that pop up. That is continuation low, and it couldn't continue low. It couldn't take out these lows. So if it was weak, should have done that. Should have taken out those lows and continued probably down to 75.66. So once we've got that, yeah, that was quite a major level for a long time. That 75.90, washed that out in this zone here, and then pop up. Attempted to do it again. That zone started holding. We get those rejection candles, and then that with a push up through there is a fantastic little entry, 75.95. No, it's all in hindsight, but once you start seeing a push lower, a failed continuation lower, and then just taken out, especially when it's got that major longer term contraction, that's a good sign. It's a good little entry. Your risk is quite low. I think, what's that, 75.95 down to, it's less than 10, about 10 pips. So you give yourself 10 pips, nothing much to risk, with your target still up at here, which eventually got hit, 76.24. Yeah, that's a 3-to-1 risk reward on that one. You could have easily, what we were looking at doing, again, a breakthrough here, taking a partial exit up here, and then just holding the rest, putting it at break even, which we probably would have got done on that. So still a profitable trade if you just bought on a break of that 76.04, but a refined entry. What you're always looking for is that refined entry into to buy off a failed continuation. If you're buying, you want to see failed continuation lower. If you're selling, you want to see that failed continuation and lower high build to sell into. Anyway, any questions on that there? So yeah, that did pan out quite well. What I want to go through, I'll just have a quick look. Just 1 minute. We'll just check where the market's at. So it's actually eased off a bit, backed off a bit. It's down up 11 at the moment. What we'll do, we'll take a quick look. What's that doing there? Let's just take a quick look at some sectors. What do we got? We've looked at this previously, and I like this because I do think this the ASX it's got a lot of potential to head higher. At the moment, I mean, a lot of people would be looking at it thinking it's overbought, but there's no reason why it can't grind its way higher. And that, I think, it's probably looking at the banks, and you got some energy stocks and big names could really drag this market higher over the next few weeks, especially with the US going into the elections, and also after that you've obviously got their focus on rates as well, but the potential is not going to be in November, it's more in December. So they've sort of written off November for a rate hike, still looking in for December. Now the numbers that are coming out and what they're looking at, the strength in numbers for the economic strength, I guess, they haven't got substantially better. They are quite good, but they're not getting out of hand. They're not improving like I think the Fed wants to see. Or you're not seeing any significant improvements, and sometimes you get a good number, a stronger number than expected comes out, then it's followed by something that's not so strong. So they're sort of held in check at the moment. The economy is expanding, but not at a severe pace where it could warrant a rate rise. So the numbers, going forward, if we're still seeing numbers coming out, economic numbers coming out in the US that are not out of hand, they're not coming in line with expectations, then you'd expect this market just to keep going higher, especially the US, just to keep grinding higher, because that's been the trend of late. Looking into that, a bit of a sell-off. As soon as we start seeing some stronger numbers, some really strong numbers come out in the US, then I think that we could get a bit of a profit taking, bit of sell-off, especially as we get up to the all-time highs again, if that's the way it's going. So yeah, taking that into account with the ASX, I think this could easily grind higher. Now if we take a look at, let's just go, this is the financial sector, XFJ. So this is the daily chart. I like what we're seeing here. The overall, this trend has been held down. If you see this type of price action going right back, if you can see that, right back, we've got a grind higher. We've made the highs 67. It's holding that trend down, and then bang, comes crashing down, finds a bit of a base. Higher highs, higher lows. That's just a contraction back up off of that overall trend down. The same as this. We had the trend down, contracting up, trend down, contracting up, trend down. So what we are seeing at the moment is it's a very long-term contraction higher. But it doesn't mean that this market is just going to pop higher just because we're seeing higher lows here and higher highs, because these higher highs are not significant. It's sort of been capped at this level. I think it's say 61.75, 6200 zone at the moment. But the level that's holding this trend down, if that comes under attack at say 63, 63.50, you can see across here, this high in here, then if that gets broken, then I think longer term, a lot longer term, we could see this, this financial shares really push the market higher. Problem is, this is the daily chart here. It is an overbought territory, so we could easily run out of steam here, contract, sell off. Sorry, a bit of a pullback. But as long as we hold in this these higher lows, it could come down, hold the higher lows, and then bang up we go again. But I think there's potential there, and you can see it in the banks as well. The banks are in a good area. If we go to a weekly chart on this longer term, that's obviously that's way back before 2012, but taking all this price structure into account, you have the contraction down, made the lows down here end of 2011, worked its way higher through 12, 13, 14 and to 15, made the highs in 2015, early 2015. Then we've been contracting lower pretty much for the last year, and we're starting to get that. This is the leg up. We're starting to get a bit of contraction, so it'll be interesting to see if these lows can hold and these higher lows can hold as well. And that's starting of a new price action, a bit similar to back in early 2012, start of 2012, that type of price action, and we can get that good solid leg up. Obviously it's going to take obviously a lot of time to work that out, but potentially it's early stages, and we want this price action starting to show some good signs. You can see the MAs. We look at the MAs quite a lot. It's a good indication of what the trend is doing, but you've got to take into account the levels as well and price action. So going to the daily, doesn't look too bad. If we take a look at this is why we started looking at some banks. I think I like WBC, Westpac. We've got a good low, had a bit of even a washout at 28, so that level is held. Alright, so we've got a bit of a washout just here, pop back up, and potentially if we start looking to take out this, what do we got, the high at 31.29, 31.30, if we take out that high, that's a higher low, so that's a really good sign that, especially if you take a resistance line from the tops down, across the tops there, if we take out that low, that's a good sign that this move down is starting to fail, and we can see that strong move down, strong bounce, stronger move down, contraction back up, another good move down, and a solid bounce after that as well. And then we had a move down that failed to take out those lows. and then we built another higher, lower high here. Retested those lows. Sorry, phone got off there, but nothing too strong. Okay, so we retested those lows and then we bounced. So if this becomes a higher low, that's a nice little sign. I don't mind that stochastics as well. It's come back to 50%, so it's got a lot of room to move to the upside on Westpac. So I think longer term, if we take that out, we could just work our way back higher. And that's, we'll see what ANZ, if it's got a similar type of price action. It looks like it's potentially already gone. Double bottom here, a retest, higher low, and that's gone. It is in overbought territory, so you want to see a bit of a correction. We don't know how much it may correct, but it could just be grinding high like that. Bang, comes down hard, grinding higher, bang. That type of stair-stepping action up. Yeah, we don't mind that the financial sector at the moment. I think looking for some trades, and that's not a bad idea, but you just got to be wary of where we are on a daily chart. This ANZ again still. So that price action was quite nice, so it's worked its way higher. So we do know it's weeklies are overbought, dailies on overbought, so you'd probably be tentative to buy this one, and we are getting up to a good little resistance zone. We've just popped through it at 28, and there's another one up at 29. So it's going to start coming to some selling, you'd think. But we'll see how that goes anyway. But it's just one to keep in the back of the mind. Let's also look at energy. With the push up in crude, energy has been quite nice as well. So go back to the longer term view. So we've got, let me just go back to the monthly. So this is a very, very long term, obviously. You can see by getting this sort of view, you can see the overall structure and what we could be doing. So what you've got to take note of, we had that good solid move up, that spike back up in 2008. That was when crude was going bananas. I think it was nearly 150 bucks a barrel, something like that. Big push down, when it got poleaxed. That was obviously the GFC, and we've attempted to gain some ground back. We made really a double top. We had a big washout on the monthly chart. As soon as you see that, you can't take out the high significantly. Finishes below that, then you expect some movement down. So you got a big push down, bounce back up, push down, couldn't take out the lows. Buyers started to step in, got a bit excited. Wash out this minor high again over here at 15, and then we've it's happened once. Wash out the highs, push down. Still some potential buyers looking to step in. So right up until this day here, the price action is not too bad. It could potentially go boom back up, but then you get that washout and push lower. Anyone who's sort of thinking about going long or is long would want to be out by then. You can see with that severe price action down, taken out, bang straight through the lows. Build that lower high in here, which is a great little sign. If you're thinking about going short any of those stocks on a long-term basis, yeah, that was a great little sign there. So if we break that down, and at the moment on the monthly, actually, before we go, contracting higher. I'll just answer you in 1 minute there, Anne-Marie. I'll just get to your question in a second. So you got that push higher. So that's contractive action. So really, on a monthly trend, we don't know what's going to happen. Could contract higher. It's getting to overbought. That could easily just roll back over again, and then we have to take it from there. But if you're just drilling down each of the sectors, time frames, that's same contractive action. Those MAs are starting to contract in on themselves, but we don't know if we're going to get this type of action here and then another rollover, or if this is going to be a good break higher, maybe a retest of these lows and then go. There's obviously a lot of work to do still, but it could just easily edge its way higher. But I think you'd want to be, we are getting obviously overbought as well, up near that 90-year level, but if that becomes a double top, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a test back down, a retest of 77.50. This is on the energy sector ETF anyway. So anyone is jumping into these energy companies, Woodside or anything like that, just be wary of what this overall sector is doing. So at a question, so do you look for sectors that look good and then look for shares in that sector that have good price action? Exactly. It's not a, how do I say, it's not something I live by, but I think you've got to have an idea of what's happening over, even on the XJO. Just take into account where the overall markets are and sectors. So you can start with the ASX easily. Look at that, get an idea of. Let's just go back to. So we've got our idea of what's happening in this market. Okay, it's overbought. What's happening doesn't mean that you just jump into selling or get out of any long positions. You don't. You still got to look at the individual price action of the share, but you've got that overall view of the market, and then you can go down to sectors just to get an idea of is that sector strong within the ASX or is it weak? If it's looking strong, so you've got two factors working in your favour, and then really just drilling down to stocks, picking a stock that's got some great price action that you can see either continuation or you don't want to see extended into a level. You never want to be buying, if this is extended here, this is where people get caught out time and time again. You don't want to buy at the highs and sell at the lows. It's the reverse. So you want to buy in the unknown, and the unknowns means when it's oversold in that type of scenario. So if you're buying in the unknown, okay, you could take a few losses, but that's where you're going to get your bigger payouts. If obviously this is not new to me. It's not new to anyone. This market has been heading higher. So if you're buying here, it's more in the known than the unknown. But in saying that, it could easily just grind its way higher. There's no reason why it can't push higher. We were looking at way back here, and that was more of the unknown. Chatting with a couple of guys, going long in this area, taking a bit of a punt, obviously. You don't know what's going to happen. Nothing is proven just yet, especially from a daily chart. This is a great zone, actually, if we chat about that. So that they're getting in there, and you're just drilling down from a daily down to a 30-minute or whatever chart you like to use, drilling down for the entry setups, you are buying into the unknown. Yeah, and that's when the market was well oversold. So you're sort of getting a few factors on your side from the daily charts. If you're just trading straight out the ASX or the SPY or whatever, however you trade, the CFD on this ASX, but you're buying in the unknown there, and that's great. So we've had some good payouts there. So it's yet to see if you're holding those longs. You can sort of sit back, put your stop in there. You've locked in some profits and just grind it high to 56. If it rolls over, so be it. You've taken a good little win. But you don't want to be these sort of price action where people get caught. It's all that, and you can see with the sudden moves down, people get nervous. Okay, it's a big sell-off, but that trend was holding. It's going to be really hard to show. But anyway, yeah. So that's sort of the idea with that. Always drilling down into the sectors. Yep, true. So we just had that follow-up question, but what about the MAs turning down in that area of unknown? That's very true, but you're looking at that is one thing, okay, but you don't base the sell off that, because if you look at how far you are away from the MAs, and this is on the daily chart, how far you are, so you really are extended away from the MAs. So it's like if you think of stretching an elastic band, you can only stretch it so far before it's going to come back in on itself. Okay, and then that's where you would be looking if you're thinking about selling. If you were down here at 51, 55, you can look at that chart. Well, if we can just do this type of thing, I don't know if you can see that. So this is the top of price section. We're hard right edge. MAs are down. The market really is going one step further. Really is sold hard into that zone. Stochastics, it really is an oversold market, and we are hitting that level where the daily trend could potentially hold. So if you put those factors, would not sell down here, would never sell down here. But so if I wanted to sell, if I was convinced that this market's going to roll over, I'm looking at my MAs. I want to look for a lower high, and we were looking at that around this level, but I'm always going from a daily, as if I'm looking at my daily as my anchor chart where I want to base a trade off. I'm looking for my entries always from a lower time frame to get. It's like getting a heads up of what could be happening at that zone. If we're starting to see failure on the lower time frames, that's where I would be looking for a potential short sell, because that means that could potentially be a lower high forming, and that resistance is starting to hold. Now it didn't, we know that, but if I was looking for a sell, and I'll be looking more off this level right up here at 54, I think it was 33 or 54.40, say. that zone up there. If we just mark that in. So, well, so that's your resistance zone up there. So as we edged up into that, you'd be wanting to see sign on the lower time frame that that's starting to roll over. We're in overbought. Okay, everything was starting to line up for a short. It just didn't play out that way, that's all. But yeah, and that's where you still got the MAs down. You're starting to get on the opposite side. So we would have essentially, I would have liked to have seen a lower high build, below this resistance zone, because once you start touching it and testing it, it's starting to get a bit, short is starting to get a bit iffy. And we did, if we could drop down, if we could see that on the lower time frame chart. Oh, that's probably going to be a bit hard to see there. Oh no, I think it was up here. Yeah, so that's that zone up there. So that's pushing into resistance. So that's a little double top. You could have been looking, okay, we'll go short. Potentially it was a short here. Off the 30-minute chart anyway. That break below there. But the problem is you are down in oversold, so you just got to work it as you go. But yeah, the idea is we're up into that unknown area there. You wanted to see that roll over, and so you're just taking your setups from the lower time frames. I hope that helps. I get a bit long-winded sometimes and just carry on. So yeah, if you've got any more questions, just whack them up there. Another point on that, which in this area here, we've had that push down. So down here, the majority of the market is short. So you got to realise, everyone's pointing short. So there could be a lot of fuel for that to bounce up higher. So that's why that's what I mean by unknown. Everyone's sort of pointed in one direction. So if you're short, realistically, you should have already been short up around here once you start seeing that, because that's a zone where you don't know what's going to happen. If you're starting to form that little resistance up at 54, 34, and then you start getting failure. Obviously, going to the lower time frames, then you'd want to go short because you've got some risk, tight risk there off the half an hour chart, and your potential gains where you could have been targeting just down here, which is only very minor, but your targets would have been down in this zone here, which it actually touched. So that another on the lower time frames is unknown as well. And you're getting up to here, so really there's a few short positions, not anything major. You still probably got a few people jumping in and buying here, looking for that kick back up. However they trade, who knows? But as soon as it starts getting roll over, there's a whole lot of fuel. Anyone that's been buying in this zone, there's some fuel to push that down, and then extra sellers to come in and just bang that market down. And when you get down here, it's pretty obvious that was a short, and there's a lot of people that would have been, short from up 54, 50, 55, 50. Sorry, again here, market's headed down, so there's a lot of fuel for that market to flip over and everyone to be exiting on the same side, even new buyers to step in. So that's what I mean by the unknown. This could easily keep going, but once you start seeing that on the lower time frames failing, nothing's confirmed, but you are taking a chance that you've got a few factors lining up. You're oversold on the daily trend holding, great zone, and then you're looking at your lower time frames for those higher lows on the 30-minute, or even I tend to go a bit lower, and that's just refining your entry. And then you've got potential payout is all the way back up here, which it did hit. Even if it got to here and it started rolling over again, you're up. You could have easily bought in this zone in the unknown. A few people starting to look at taking profits on their shorts, buying it back. Gets up here. If it starts rolling over, you could just get a neutral trade or a small profit. But as it did, it held and kicked up. So that, once you start getting that break of this 53, 14 or 15 zone, then the trade was really on. That buy was really on. It was really going to work out well. Okay. I think it's getting on 11 o'clock there. So what we'll do, we'll call it a day there. Let's just quickly, before we go, let's look at the market. Oh, wrong one. So we're holding it up 11 points, so we haven't really moved since we've been talking the last half an hour or so. Yeah, we are getting up. So that's the energy sector. If we just go to the XJO, yeah, the 5500 is starting to look a bit of pressure at that level there. So it'll be interesting to see if we do start rolling over from here. But anyway, that's something that's going to take a long time to play out. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Like I said, anytime we're going to be doing this each morning. I'll be aiming for around the 10 to 10:15 mark, but you should get an alert out through the app mentioning what time I want to kick it off. And then, like I said, any questions, feel free to email them through. Even if there's something tonight, email it through to support@tradesetup.com.au, and then it could be something we could look at the next day. Or if there's any, like I said, any trades you don't mind going over, any positions you might want to have a look at. I could even maybe tomorrow look at popping up some trades I've done. It's more on the SPY, and we can probably even just go through a couple of trades that we've looked at and why we looked at it, why we liked it, what it was that made us buy or sell. Have a look at some of those tomorrow or the next few days. Anyway, yeah, thanks for joining me, and yeah, remember that we'll be on each day around that time. Look out for the alerts. Any questions, whack them through. And if you're on a desktop, feel free to get on the chat and ask some questions as we go. Right, thank you guys. I'll speak to you tomorrow.